All right, what's up, y'all? Connor here, and we're gonna talk about cosmic slash eldritch themes in 40K. But before we get to that, I just do want to mention real quick. Promised, I'm not just doing nothing. I am, in fact, still reading the Armin Omnibus, and that video will come out. But it's a 900-page book, and I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm not a fast reader. I like to take my time, and I also am reading other things like the Descent of the Angels mainly. That's actually shaping up to be pretty good. I don't know why it gets the hate that it does. It's a pretty good filler book, I have to say. But enough of that. I want to talk about the Eldritch and the horror aspect of 40K because I feel like it's really, really kind of not like underdeveloped, but definitely something that I definitely didn't look at as much because when I was thinking about it, I was like, I need to make a video. I need to just get the creative gears in my brain working. So what really did I enjoy? So I'm looking through. I'm like, there's the Yellow King, and that's from the from past not the Eisenhorn series, but there's a woman in this, and she's a blank, but they make a clone of her or something. I'm not sure, but there's references to Lovecraft in there. The Tyranids are a pretty good example. They just show up out of nowhere. These bugs that can just consume and consume and consume, and it's they have no origin, and even the Chaos Gods themselves too. There's really a lot of avenues you can take when thinking about the Eldritch and the inconceivable, uh, beings that are in 40K. So it's just an interesting thing to talk about. Like, and for example, again, I just said the Chaos Gods, but they're really good at being kind of what's the word? Like almost unfathomable. Like you can't really mortally conceptualize what they are. Because again, while reading the Aramin Omnibus, of course, it has to deal with Zinch, and there's a lot of warp magic kerfudgery going around. Mainly Armin's kind of gazing through the warp on this ship called the Titan's Child, but now it's renamed to like the Kyrax or something because there's a bunch of spoilers that I won't get into, but when he looks through the warp, it's shifting and constantly changing, and there's a navigator there, and if you don't know, each navigator has their own sort of interpretation of what the warp looks like. For some, it's like a symphony. For others, it's an actual ocean. If you because many sorcerers from the Thousand Suns refer to the warp as the Great Ocean, which is a really good way to think about it because it's just so vast and large that there's so much we don't truly understand about it. And it's even great too because the warp and the gods do things to you that you can't really understand. Araman hears voices in his head that really you could assume are his own for either his conscience or just his monologuing. But then it says things to him, and he's like, "There's always a choice. You need to choose. You have to submit to fate." And it's not him thinking that. That's Zinch thinking it for him. And it's just so interesting because you don't really get to see that with other characters, chaos aligned, I guess. Well, you might, but Zinch is really, I would probably go on a limb here and say the most prolific way you get to see the Eldritch in action. So again, he's thinking thoughts for Araman, and Araman meets up with a former brother who's now really mutated from again the flesh mutation that was sort of put there by Zinch. But this isn't really that. This is from the warp itself, who's changed him into this sort of eldritch being. His name's like Menkara or something, and he's gangly. He's got eyes everywhere, watching you, and even I'm not. Oh, I won't spoil it. But the eyes, and there's just the constant hinting and kind of referring to the fact that the warp is almost not sentient, but aware of you, always watching you, always feeding your emotions, and in turn, you're feeding it. And you see things in the warp that aren't there, that mesh, that your worst fears, sounds, demons. Demons themselves are eldritch in their own way, and their conceptualization and the fact that they're spawned from human emotion, but they don't. It's the worst of humanity, and they've seen things. They're it's just an interesting thing to talk about, and I think it's really cool. I also, again, because I think this is probably going to be a super warp heavy video, the warp doesn't work in a linear way that we're even accustomed to. And I think that's just, again, gets the gears turning and is a good way to just get a story that can make you unnerved. Because remember, the warp is non-linear. Things are happening, have happened, and have yet to happen. And you can get some of that in Motarian, the Lords of Silence, where he kind of mentions that. But there's just things lurking there. There were enslavers at one point. There's other Neverborn, unaligned demons, and just interest vampires. Even if that's still a thing in lore, I'm not super sure. But it's just the old ones. The War in Heaven, the Catan, if I'm saying that right. There's just a lot of super cool cosmic horror-y, eldritch stuff there, and it's super cool. I just wanted to talk about it because I figured I'd give you guys a filler video while I'm still working on making the RMN video. So that being said, if you guys have any other good examples that you really found were interesting of the more cosmic horror related eldritch stuff of Warhammer, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll probably go look them up and see what they're interesting, and I'll probably go read some of them. So if you're interested, leave comments talking about that. Otherwise, I think I'm probably going to get back to making the Armin video. So if you like the video, thanks a lot, guys. If you really like it and you're really, really interested in hearing this guy's random Warhammer thoughts with the occasional long form video, highly recommend you subscribe. But otherwise, guys, thank you for watching. I am out of here.